You would think your relationship with Eddie would have been the closest because the two of you made beautiful music together. It's a love story if you think about two guys who could write songs. You could write lyrics, give him musical ideas. He could come in with these massive riffs. You would think it was a romance made in heaven, but it's not. I don't understand
Well,
it.
it was. No, it was, Howard. It 100% was for 9 years. The 10th year in Van Halen, it just went sideways. Our manager died. Another manager came in. He started poisoning Ed now, saying, "Hey, Sammy thinks it's his band." Mike will tell you, it's like I was innocent. They just all turned on me because I didn't like this manager. We wanted a different manager. I wanted a different manager, and of course this guy lasted 5 minutes and he was gone. So I was right in the end, but I didn't. Being right wasn't a good thing in this case.
So this is kind of heavy for this time in the morning, but knowing what I know about you and your father, I know you loved your father, but your father was a difficult man. The guy had a horrible drinking problem. He was difficult to deal with. It's weird. Doesn't it remind you in some ways of you going back to your father working with Eddie Van Halen? Because Eddie had his problems with substance. Eddie kind of is like your father in a weird way, isn't he?
Well, he had addiction problems like my father had. But Eddie wasn't violent. That was the only great, beautiful thing about Eddie. When we'd get drunk, we'd end up crying together. You know what I mean? It's like we weren't,
Right.
we didn't fight. Towards the end, we started fighting about other stuff. But no, my dad was violent. But I think it's true. One thing that makes sense what you said is that I never thought I had a drinking problem. I never thought I had a drug problem when I was doing coke once in a while. I never really did. I can still tell you I don't. The thing is that when you're around people that have a bad addiction, like my father, who would drink himself into the ground until he had to be taken to the hospital, then he would quit for 2 weeks or a month and he'd start over again. When you're around somebody that bad, you see somebody like Ed and Al and Mike and the way we were partying, it's like, we're okay. I know worse guys than that. Oh, hey, Jimi Hendrix died of an over, So yeah, your relative standards of what's bad and what's okay was pretty low for people that drank all day. You know what I mean? It's like it didn't bother me. I thought as long as until people can't do their job, then that's when I step in and say, hey, this is fucked up, man. You played like shit, and it's embarrassing to me to have to try to sing. You're so out of tune. That's what was going on in the reunion tour, and that's when we bumped heads. That's when it really got bad. It was like, well, I can't be around somebody.
And it must have been shocking for you, Sammy, because this is
Totally.
the great Eddie Van Halen, and he's fucking up his parts on the tour, and you're like, whoa, this isn't the guy I know. This is the guy who takes such pride in his musicianship, right?
Yeah. It was really strange. It really strange to see that happen. But Ed was sick. I didn't realize. No one realized how sick he really was. Obviously, until it was over. It's really a shame. I mean, if there's anything I regret, it's ever going through any hardships with Eddie, because knowing he was sick like that, I would have been so much more compassionate. But I didn't know until after it was too late. But that's how we got back together in the end, because George Lopez called me and said, "You got to call Eddie." I said, I've reached out to him before, man. Give me my number. He's going, "No, you got to call him." He said, "He's really sick." I said, "What?" I knew he was always battling with this tongue cancer and all that stuff, but I thought it was cool. And that's when I called him. And that's when we, made friends again. It was beautiful.